There are two kinds of battles in life, one you can see and one you can't. Many people struggle with sickness, moving from doctor to doctor, medicine to medicine. But the problem remains. Why? Because sometimes sickness isn't just physical, it's spiritual. There's a force working behind the scenes, keeping people bound in weakness, pain, and affliction. This spirit wants to steal your strength, destroy your peace, and keep you trapped in a cycle of suffering. But today I want to show you how to break free. You don't have to accept the sickness. You don't have to live in defeat. There is a power greater than the sickness, and it's time to use it. The root of sickness goes beyond what the eyes can see. Many believe that sickness is simply a result of natural causes. Bacteria, viruses, genetics, or environmental factors. And while these are real, there is another dimension that people often overlook. There is a deeper reason why sickness lingers, why it returns, and why, despite medical treatment, some people never find complete healing. That reason is spiritual. From the beginning of time, sickness was never part of the original design. When man was first created, he was made whole, body, soul, and spirit. There was no disease, no weakness, no suffering. But something happened that changed everything. When sin entered the world, so did sickness. It was never supposed to be part of life, yet it took root in humanity because of the fall. And ever since, sickness has had a grip on people, attacking their bodies, draining their energy, and keeping them from living fully. Sickness is not just a physical condition. It has a spiritual foundation. This is why so many people struggle with chronic illnesses that doctors cannot explain. They take the medicine, they follow the treatments, but the problem remains. The pain persists, the weakness lingers, because the battle is not only in the body, it is in the spirit. And unless the root is addressed, the sickness will continue to grow. Think about a tree. If the leaves are withering and the branches are dying, you can trim them, you can remove the dead parts. But if the root is infected, the tree will keep suffering. It doesn't matter how many leaves you cut. It doesn't matter how much you water it. The sickness in the root will continue to spread. This is how sickness operates in the human body. People try to treat the symptoms, pain, fatigue, inflammation, disease, but if they never deal with the root, the sickness remains. What is the root? The root is often an open door, a spiritual gateway that allows sickness to take hold. Sometimes, this door is opened through fear. When fear grips a person's heart, it weakens the body. Stress floods the system, anxiety builds, and sickness finds a place to enter. Other times, the door is opened through bitterness and unforgiveness. When someone carries resentment in their heart, it affects their entire being. Science even confirms this. Anger, stress, and depression weaken the immune system, making the body more vulnerable to illness. But the greatest open door to sickness is spiritual oppression. There is a force that seeks to steal, kill, and destroy, and one of the ways it operates is through sickness. This is why, in many cases, medical science has no answer. The body can be treated, but if the sickness is spiritually rooted, the treatments will only provide temporary relief. True healing requires going deeper. It requires addressing the spiritual cause. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of people who suffered from sicknesses that were not just physical. In ancient times, people recognized that sickness often had a spiritual connection. This is why they sought healing not just through medicine, but through spiritual authority. When sickness is tied to a spiritual root, it cannot be removed by natural means alone. It must be dealt with at the source. This is why some people experience cycles of illness. They recover for a while, but then the sickness returns. They think they are healed, but then another problem arises. It's like a chain reaction. One sickness after another, one issue leading to the next. This is not just a coincidence. It is evidence of a deeper root. Something is keeping the sickness alive. Something is feeding it, allowing it to remain, and until that root is destroyed, the sickness will continue to manifest. Understanding this is the first step to true healing. Recognizing that sickness is not just about the body but also about the spirit allows a person to fight the battle the right way. Too many people are treating the symptoms while ignoring the cause. They are fighting sickness with physical weapons when the real battle is spiritual. It's like trying to fight an enemy you cannot see with tools that do not work in the unseen realm. The battle requires spiritual authority. When a person begins to address the spiritual root of sickness, they start to see change. The power that held them in affliction begins to weaken. The cycles of illness start to break. Healing is not just about taking medicine, it's about removing the cause. It's about closing the doors that allowed sickness in the first place. It's about standing in authority and refusing to let sickness remain. The truth is, the human body was designed to heal. It was created to function in wholeness. But when something is blocking that process, healing is delayed. The body struggles to. There is an unseen force behind prolonged sickness that many people fail to recognize. It is not just about viruses, bacteria, or genetics. While medical science provides treatments for symptoms, some illnesses persist beyond explanation. They defy medicine, return stronger, and keep people bound in cycles of suffering. This is because there is a deeper force at work, an invisible oppressor that does not just attack the body, but also weakens the spirit. This unseen force is what keeps sickness lingering, preventing full recovery. Throughout history, people have noticed patterns in sickness. How some diseases seem to pass through generations. How some people suffer repeatedly despite medical care. And how certain afflictions appear without logical cause. What they may not realize is that behind many chronic illnesses there is a spiritual force in operation. This force is not physical, which is why physical treatments often fail to bring complete healing. It is a spiritual affliction, something that grips a person's life and refuses to let go. When someone experiences ongoing illness, they may start to feel powerless. They take the medicine, they follow the doctor's advice, but nothing changes. Or, even worse, they recover briefly only to fall sick again. It is as if something unseen is working against them, pulling them back into weakness, just when they start to feel strong again. This is not normal. This is not just coincidence. There is an unseen battle over their health, a war that is not fought with medicine, but with spiritual authority. One of the ways this unseen force operates is by weakening the body's ability to heal. The human body was created with an amazing capacity for healing. Cuts close, broken bones mend, infections are fought off. But when the body is constantly under attack from an unseen affliction, its ability to heal is suppressed. The immune system struggles, energy levels drop, and instead of growing stronger, the person remains weak. This is why some people suffer from illnesses that have no clear medical explanation. They go through endless tests, but doctors cannot find the real cause. They are given different treatments, yet the problem persists. The reason is simple. The issue is not just physical, it is spiritual. A force of affliction is at work, keeping the person in a constant state of sickness, draining their strength and preventing their breakthrough. Another way this spirit operates is through patterns of generational illness. Have you ever noticed how some families struggle with the same diseases across multiple generations? A grandfather had it, then the father, then the son. It is more than just genetics. There is something unseen that passes from one generation to the next, something that continues its work unless it is confronted and broken. This is why some diseases seem unavoidable in certain families, despite their best efforts to live healthy. It is not just in the body, it is in the spirit. This oppressive force also works by instilling fear in those who are sick. When a person is battling an illness for a long time, they begin to expect sickness as a part of life. They wake up feeling weak, and instead of resisting it, they accept it. They say things like, "This is just the way my body is," or "I'll always have this condition." These words and beliefs give power to the affliction. The moment someone accepts sickness as part of their identity, they allow it to take deeper root in their life. This spirit of affliction thrives in an atmosphere of hopelessness. It wants people to believe that they will never be healed, that they will always suffer, and that nothing can change. It whispers lies, saying, "You will never get better. You will always feel this pain. You are too weak to fight." When a person believes these lies, their faith weakens, and the sickness grows stronger. They stop fighting, they stop believing, and they start to live in a state of permanent affliction. But the truth is, no sickness is greater than the power that can break it. No affliction is beyond the reach of complete healing. This spirit wants to steal strength, but it can be cast out. It wants to keep people bound, but it has no authority when confronted. The first step to breaking free is recognizing that sickness is not always just physical. There is an oppressor that must be confronted. There is a battle to be fought, but it is not fought with medicine alone. It is fought with authority. This is why some people experience sudden breakthroughs after years of suffering. It is not because they found a new medicine. It is because something was broken in the spiritual realm. When a person realizes that their sickness is connected to a spiritual force, they begin to fight differently. They stop accepting the affliction. They stop speaking words of weakness. They rise up and declare that they will no longer live in sickness. And when they do, something begins to shift. The spirit of affliction cannot remain where there is faith. It cannot operate where there is authority. When someone refuses to accept sickness and stands in the power that is greater than affliction, healing begins to manifest. The unseen chains begin to break. The sickness that had no cure suddenly loses its hold. Strength returns, energy is restored, and the cycle of sickness is broken. The greatest mistake a person can make is to believe that sickness is just part of life. When sickness lingers, when it cycles back again and again, when no medical solution works, there is something deeper at play. The battle is spiritual. The affliction is real, but it is not unstoppable. It can be broken, and it will be broken. But it requires recognizing the source, standing against it, and refusing to let it remain. There is a reason why sickness lingers in the body, why some people find themselves trapped in cycles of pain and weakness that never seem to break. It is not always about the physical condition alone. It is about what is happening in the unseen realm. The battle for health is often fought first in the mind and the spirit before it manifests in the body. Many people do not realize that their own thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can become open doors to prolonged suffering. One of the greatest weapons that keeps people sick is fear. Fear is a powerful force that weakens not just the mind, but the body itself. It starts as a simple thought. What if I never get better? What if this pain never goes away? What if this is how my life will always be? These thoughts seem small at first, but the more they are entertained, the stronger they become. They begin to take root, turning into beliefs that shape a person's entire reality. The mind that was once full of hope becomes dominated by anxiety, doubt, and dread, and when fear settles in, sickness gains a stronger hold. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual force that works against healing. It weakens the immune system, drains energy, and makes the body more vulnerable to illness. People who live in fear experience high levels of stress, and stress is a known trigger for countless diseases. The body responds to what the mind believes. When the mind is filled with fear, the body follows, growing weaker, more exhausted, and more prone to affliction. This is why some people, even after receiving medical treatment, do not recover. Their bodies may receive the medicine, but their minds remain trapped in a cycle of fear and expectation of sickness. They live in constant worry about their health, checking every symptom, imagining the worst outcomes, and expecting more bad news. This expectation of illness becomes an invitation for it to stay. But fear does not work alone. It partners with doubt. Doubt steals the confidence that healing is possible. It makes a person question whether they will ever be free from their condition. They start to believe that their sickness is permanent, that it is part of who they are. They say things like, "This is just my reality," or "I have to live with this forever." These words give power to the affliction. They make room for sickness to remain. Doubt blinds people to the truth that complete healing is possible. It makes them rely only on human solutions, ignoring the deeper reality that sickness is not just physical. They begin to think that they must accept their suffering, that there is no way out. And once a person accepts sickness as their identity, it becomes even harder to break free. This is why hopelessness is so dangerous. When a person loses hope, they stop fighting. They stop believing in their recovery. They stop expecting change. And when they do, sickness gains full control. Hopelessness is a prison that keeps people trapped in affliction, unable to see a way out. It convinces them that nothing will ever change, that they must simply endure their pain. But there is a way out. The cycle of fear, doubt, and hopelessness can be broken. It starts with recognizing that sickness is not just something that happens to the body. It is something that takes hold in the mind and spirit as well. The first step to healing is refusing to give in to fear. Fear may whisper lies, but those lies do not have to be believed. Fear may try to keep sickness in place, but it has no power when confronted with truth. Doubt must be replaced with confidence that healing is possible. No sickness is greater than the power that can break it. No disease is beyond recovery. But doubt will always try to make people question this reality. That is why it must be silenced. When a person stops listening to doubt and starts believing in the possibility of complete restoration, something begins to shift. Strength returns. Hope rises, and the process of healing begins. And finally, hopelessness must be rejected. No situation is hopeless, no sickness is final. The moment a person chooses to believe that they can and will recover, they take the first step toward freedom. The body responds to the beliefs of the mind. When the mind is full of faith, the body begins to heal. When the mind expects recovery, the process of restoration accelerates. This is why some people experience sudden turnarounds in their health. It is not always because they found a new medicine. It is because something changed inside them. They stopped allowing fear to rule. They rejected the voice of doubt. They refused to live in hopelessness. And when they did, their healing manifested. No one has to remain in sickness forever. The cycle of affliction can be broken. Fear, doubt, and hopelessness are not stronger than the power that brings healing. But they must be confronted. They must be cast out. Only then can true restoration begin. There is a hidden force that keeps sickness lingering in the body, something far beyond medical explanations or physical conditions. Many people do not realize that sickness is not always about what is happening in the body. It is often deeply connected to what is happening in the soul. The way a person thinks, feels, and responds to life's challenges, can create an environment where sickness thrives. One of the greatest obstacles to healing is the inability to let go of past wounds. Pain that is carried from the past becomes a heavy burden. It is not just emotional, it affects the body in ways many do not recognize. When people hold on to past hurts, betrayals, or regrets, they carry them in their bodies as well. The stress, bitterness, and resentment tied to those experiences begin to manifest physically. The body was never designed to carry unresolved pain for long. Over time, it weakens under the pressure, and sickness finds an open door. Some people are sick today not because of a medical condition alone, but because they are still holding on to something from years ago. They were hurt deeply, perhaps by someone they trusted, someone they loved. They may have been rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. Pain was real, and instead of releasing it, they buried it deep inside. They tried to move on, but the wound never fully healed. It stayed there, hidden beneath the surface, poisoning their mind and body slowly. Unforgiveness is one of the most toxic things a person can hold on to. It does not only affect emotions, it affects the immune system, the nervous system, and even the heart. Studies have shown that people who hold grudges and resentment have higher blood pressure, increased stress hormones, and a greater risk of developing chronic illnesses. The body literally responds to the condition of the heart. But it is not just about forgiving others. Many people are sick because they have not forgiven themselves. They are carrying shame, guilt, and regret over mistakes they made in the past. They replay their failures over and over in their minds, punishing themselves for what they did or did not do. This internal battle creates a state of emotional stress that wears down the body. Every negative thought, every moment of self-condemnation adds to the burden the body must bear. And when the body is under that kind of stress for too long, it becomes vulnerable to sickness. Stress is not just a feeling, it is a physical reaction. When a person is constantly thinking about painful experiences, the body goes into a state of tension. Muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow, and the heart rate increases. The body enters a fight or flight mode, even when there is no immediate danger. Over time, this response weakens the immune system and allows sickness to take root. Many people wonder why they cannot seem to get better. They take the medicine, follow the doctor's advice, and do everything they can to treat the symptoms. But the sickness remains. Why? Because the root has not been addressed. The body is still responding to the wounds that have not been healed. Until those wounds are dealt with, true healing cannot come. The process of healing requires letting go. It requires releasing the weight of the past and allowing true restoration to take place. This is not always easy. The mind will resist, holding on to old memories and reasons to stay bitter. The heart will struggle, believing that the pain is too great to move on from. But holding on to past wounds does not hurt the one who caused them. It only hurts the one carrying them. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean that what happened was right. It does not mean pretending that the pain never existed. It means choosing to no longer let that pain control the present. It means choosing freedom over bondage. It means realizing that healing cannot happen in a heart that is filled with unforgiveness. Some people have been praying for healing, asking for relief from sickness, but they have not realized that the key to their healing is in their own hands. They do not need another treatment or another doctor's opinion. They need to release what they have been holding on to for years. They need to let go of resentment, bitterness, guilt, and shame. Only then can healing truly begin. When the heart is at peace, the body begins to respond. Stress levels decrease, the immune system strengthens, and the body starts to repair itself. This is not just theory, it is reality. Many people who have experienced miraculous healings did not just receive physical treatment, they let go of the emotional and spiritual burdens that were keeping them sick. They stopped carrying the weight of the past, and their bodies followed. Sickness cannot stay in a body that is free. Pain cannot remain in a heart that has let go. True healing is not just about medicine or treatments. It is about releasing everything that has been poisoning the soul. The past has no power unless it is given permission to stay. Healing is not just possible, it is waiting on the other side of letting go. There is a kind of sickness that does not start in the body, but in the mind. It is not a virus, not a disease that can be seen under a microscope, yet it has the power to weaken the body, drain energy, and make a person feel like they are carrying the weight of the world. This sickness begins in the thoughts, in the things that are constantly replayed in the mind, in the fears and worries that never seem to go away. A person can be completely healthy on the outside, yet still feel tired, heavy, and unwell because of what is happening within. The mind is a battlefield. Every day thoughts come. Some bring peace, others bring anxiety. Some thoughts encourage, others tear down. When negative thoughts are constantly entertained, they begin to affect the body. Fear and worry create stress. Doubt and insecurity bring exhaustion. A person may not even realize that they are trapped in a cycle of toxic thinking, yet their body is responding to every fearful, anxious, and hopeless thought they allow to remain. There is a direct connection between the mind and the body. When the mind is filled with thoughts of fear, the body releases stress hormones. The heart beats faster, blood pressure rises, muscles tense up. The body enters a state of fight or flight, as if it is preparing for danger. But when this state is maintained for too long, it begins to break down the body's natural defenses. The immune system weakens, sleep becomes restless, and exhaustion sets in. Sickness finds an easy target in a body that is constantly under stress. Many people who struggle with persistent sickness are not just dealing with a physical problem. They are carrying a mental and emotional burden that is slowly wearing them down. They wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. They feel drained, even when they have done little physical work. Their bodies ache, yet no medical test can explain why. The truth is, sickness thrives in an environment of negative thinking. The thoughts a person allows to dominate their mind can either bring healing or invite sickness to stay. Some people have spent years battling an illness that refuses to go away. They have tried every treatment, changed their diets, followed every doctor's instruction, yet they still feel unwell. The real problem is not just in the body, it is in the way they think. The mind has been conditioned to expect sickness, to focus on pain, to live in fear of what could go wrong. When the mind believes in sickness, the body follows. A person who constantly thinks about their weakness will feel weak. A person who constantly fears getting sick will eventually feel the symptoms of that fear. There is a term called the placebo effect. It is when a person takes a harmless pill, believing it to be real medicine, and their body responds as if they actually received treatment. This is proof of how powerful the mind is. If a person can believe in sickness, they can also believe in healing. If the mind can convince the body that it is sick, it can also convince the body that it is whole. The problem is that many people have spent years reinforcing negative thoughts about their health. They expect sickness. They talk about it, think about it, and live in fear of it. Their mind has been trained to hold on to illness, and as a result, their body struggles to recover. The first step to healing is to change the way one thinks. Instead of constantly focusing on pain and weakness, a person must begin to focus on strength and restoration. Instead of waking up expecting to feel sick, they must wake up expecting to feel whole. This is not wishful thinking. It is a shift in mindset that allows the body to respond in a different way. Studies have shown that people who maintain a positive outlook on life recover from sickness faster than those who dwell on negativity. This is because the body follows the instructions it receives from the mind. Fear is one of the greatest enemies of health. When a person lives in constant fear of sickness, they actually open the door for sickness to enter. Fear keeps the body in a state of tension. It weakens the immune system and makes recovery difficult. But fear does not come from nowhere. It is the result of the thoughts a person chooses to focus on. If a person constantly thinks about worst-case scenarios, their body will respond as if those scenarios are real. The stress of negative thinking can be just as harmful as an actual illness. It begins by taking control of what enters the mind. Just as a person watches what they eat to maintain physical health, they must also watch what they feed their mind. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and anxiety must be replaced with thoughts of faith, hope, and confidence. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let negativity take control. When the mind is filled with thoughts of peace, the body begins to heal. When the mind is no longer dwelling on fear, the body finds strength. Sickness does not have to be permanent. The body is designed to heal, but the mind must support that process. A person who chooses to think healthy thoughts will begin to feel healthy. A person who chooses to believe in healing will begin to experience it. The mind is not separate from the body, it is the control center. When the mind is renewed, the body will follow. There is a force that operates in silence, a spirit that keeps people bound without them even realizing it. It is the spirit of defeat, the spirit that whispers, "This is just the way things are. Nothing will change." This spirit convinces people to accept their condition, to believe that sickness is their destiny, that pain is their portion, and that healing is beyond their reach. It is not an obvious force. It does not shout. It does not force itself into a person's life. Instead, it works through thoughts, through beliefs, that settle so deeply into the mind that they become reality. Many people are sick today, not just because of what is happening in their bodies, but because of what they have allowed to take root in their minds. They have accepted the idea that sickness is normal, that it is a part of their identity. They wake up expecting pain. They go through their day anticipating discomfort, and they go to bed believing that tomorrow will be no different. They have stopped hoping for change, stopped believing in the possibility of restoration. This is the silent work of the spirit of defeat. It does not attack with force. It slowly convinces, little by little, until a person no longer fights back. The spirit of defeat is subtle. It can enter a person's life through past experiences, through the words of others, through a series of disappointments that make them feel like healing is impossible. Maybe they prayed for healing, but nothing happened. Maybe they tried everything the doctors suggested, yet the symptoms remained. Maybe they have watched others suffer for years and assumed that their fate would be the same. Over time, their faith weakens. They no longer expect to get better. They make peace with their condition. They adjust their life to accommodate their sickness rather than standing against it. Once a person accepts sickness as a part of their life, they stop resisting it. They stop looking for solutions. They stop believing that change is possible. This is the greatest victory of the spirit of defeat. To make a person surrender without realizing it. To convince them that there is no use in fighting, no point in believing, no reason to expect anything different. It is not their destiny. It is not something they are meant to carry forever. But as long as they believe it is, they will remain in the same condition. The mind is a powerful thing. It has the ability to shape reality. A person who believes they are weak will feel weak. A person who believes they are sick will continue to experience sickness. The body responds to what the mind believes. This is why the spirit of defeat is so dangerous. It does not attack the body first. It attacks the mind. It plants the seed of hopelessness. And once that seed takes root, it begins to affect everything else. A person who believes they will never be well stops taking steps toward healing. They stop making choices that support their health. They stop expecting a better future. This spirit thrives in an atmosphere of passivity. It looks for those who have given up. It does not need to work hard to keep them bound, because they have already accepted their condition as permanent. But nothing is permanent. Sickness does not have to define a person's life. The moment they choose to reject the spirit of defeat, things begin to change. It does not mean everything will be perfect overnight, but the process of restoration begins when a person stops agreeing with sickness and starts agreeing with healing. To break free from this spirit, a person must first recognize its presence. They must be honest with themselves. Have they stopped believing in their own healing? Have they accepted sickness as a part of their identity? Have they allowed past disappointments to shape their expectations for the future? If the answer is yes, then they have been influenced by the spirit of defeat, and the good news is they do not have to stay under its control. They have the power to reject it. They have the ability to choose a different path. It begins with a decision. A person must decide that they will no longer accept sickness as their portion. They must choose to fight back, to resist, to believe again. This is not an easy process. The mind will try to return to old patterns. Doubt will whisper, "Nothing is changing." Fear will say, "What if you get disappointed again?" But faith must rise up and say, "I refuse to stay in this place. I refuse to believe the lie that I am meant to be sick forever. I will not live in defeat." The spirit of defeat cannot survive in an atmosphere of faith. It loses its grip when a person begins to hope again. When they start to expect healing, when they refuse to settle for anything less than restoration, the process of change begins. This is not just positive thinking, it is a shift in reality. A person who believes they are getting stronger will start making choices that support that belief. They will take care of their body, they will nourish their mind with uplifting thoughts. They will surround themselves with people who encourage them rather than reinforce their fears. Sickness may try to hold on, but it cannot stay where it is not welcomed. The spirit of defeat thrives where there is no resistance, but the moment a person starts pushing back, its power weakens. Every thought of faith, every declaration of healing, every step taken in hope is a blow against the spirit that once held them captive. And the more they fight, the stronger they become. No one is meant to live in defeat. No one is meant to spend their days expecting sickness, waiting for the next symptom to appear, living in fear of what might happen next. The spirit of defeat is a liar. It wants people to believe that they are powerless, that healing is out of reach, that they will never experience wholeness again. But those who reject this lie, who choose to stand in faith, will see a change. It may not happen instantly, but it will happen. And once a person truly understands that they are not meant to live in sickness, they will never allow the spirit of defeat to have control over their life again.